Good evening and welcome to another episode of Falcon Update right here on YBTV. I'm Nolan Hoganboom.
And I'm Caleb Kukin. Thank you for joining us.
Last Monday, Student Senate voted on 2 resolutions seeking to change Messiah's policies surrounding alcohol and religious tolerance. Marie Miller is joining us live from the Kim Phipps Admission Center to tell us more. Marie?
I'm right here where Student Senate meets every Monday night. And last Monday, as Nolan said, they met to propose 2 new resolutions that they had been working on for the majority of last year and this year. Here's the story. Student Senate held an extended forum meeting to discuss and vote on 2 new resolutions, beginning with the off-campus alcohol policy.
There wouldn't be any huge change to any student under the age of 21. All students who are 21 and older could safely consume alcohol off campus, even during the school year, even without your parents. This was a measure kind of put into place as we further our graduate school, thinking that we're going to have a lot of students over 21, and we want to make that a kind of seamless go-between between the graduate school students and the undergrads who are also of the same age.
The Senate voted overwhelmingly to pass the resolution, and this isn't the first time this has happened. After multiple attempts in past years to get similar resolutions passed, the anticipated presence of more graduate students on campus might be what finally gets this resolution implemented.
Every 5 years or so, we always sort of see this policy flow through the student government administration, make its way up to the administration and within the school.
What's different this time is that administration was on board from the very beginning.
The Senate vote is only the first step. The resolution still needs to be reviewed and approved by the Board of Trustees before any changes can be made to Messiah's current policies. The second resolution on the agenda was the Religious Toleration Resolution.
I took to writing this as a way to sort of help students who are not affiliated with mainstream Protestant Christianity. I know we have several Muslim and Hindu and Jewish students and non-affiliated on campus, and I wanted to make sure that they felt safe and protected as much as all the other Protestant students feel.
Beyond addressing harassment, the resolution also aims to make reporting harassment more streamlined for students, enforcing the use of religion-specific texts when teaching other religions, and also making any dietary accommodations for religious purposes.
We would just like to provide things like Lenten meals, more fish and Lottie available, as well as doing things like marking where pork is on certain Lottie meals and union items, etc.
After a long debate, the resolution was voted down by the Senate.
For us, it was a negative because we would have liked to see it pass the first time. But to make a positive out of the negative, we now know exactly what issues people were concerned about in the first place.
The resolution could have been amended during the session, but the Senate decided against this.
The Senate took a different path of that revision to send it back to committee as opposed to doing the revision internally now.
It was a long and tiring debate on Monday night, but significant debate isn't a bad thing, according to Cody Ford.
Grateful for the fact that we have students that are passionate on either side, sort of really hash out the wording, the spirit, and just what really is what the resolution stands for before it is presented broadly to the campus community.
The religious tolerance resolution will be revised and presented again on April 11th, while the alcohol resolution is considered by Messiah's administration. Student Senate is open to all students, so if you'd like to see the changes, amendments, and revisions made to the religious toleration resolution, you can attend on Monday, April 11th at 6 p.m. right here in the Welcome Center. For YBTV, I'm Marie Miller.
Marie, thank you. Despite the lifting of COVID-19 protocols on campus, Messiah University has seen a decline in new cases of the coronavirus. As of today, students have been in public buildings without needing to wear a mask for a month. This is Engel Center's medical director, Betsy Miller, says the decrease in cases is not a surprise.
And that's equivalent to really what we're seeing community-wide and even across the country, that cases are starting to decline. And kind of steady out. And so that's great news. But I think even more than what we've ever known before, that when we're not well, we need to stay home. When we're not well, we need to wear our masks. When we're not well, we need to be extra cautious about using hand sanitizer. So I think even more than we ever had known before, we have to be better about taking care of those around us.
The university still requires students and staff to report any unusual health symptoms on the Falcon Health COVID-19 screening and take the necessary precautions to keep Messiah safe and healthy.
Messiah's Student Government Association and SAGE, the Sexuality and Gender Education Program, hosted a collaborative event last week. Here's Kelly Gainey with more.
On Thursday, SAGE and SGA came together and hosted Join the Conversation. Students were met with food and safety to enter into conversation about inviting the LGBTQ+ community to feel heard, understood, and accepted by the larger Messiah community.
Tonight we had a civil discourse series, and our topic was on LGBT matters, and the goal was to kind of reconcile the LGBT community with the greater Messiah community, and we did that through discussion questions with small group and large group discussion.
And then we realized there needed to be some sort of partnership with SAGE where we could have an event that wasn't just SAGE having the event, that other orgs can also, understand, reconcile, and promote SAGE's events in order to educate the student body.
I think just some of the knowledge that some people had on some of these issues was just really stuck out to me. I was kind of expecting coming into this event where not a lot of people might have known about what's going on with campus with LGBT matters, but everyone in my group that I was talking with knew what they were talking about, so that was pretty cool, yeah.
SAGE is no stranger to promoting conversation among students and providing space to share personal experiences as well.
But earlier in the semester we had an event with KP, and we had LGBT students sharing their stories and just how campus has impacted their overall well-being, stuff like that.
For YBTV, I'm Kelly Gainey.
Thank you, Kelly. Throughout all of last week, the Banquet Initiative held events as part of the Neurodiversity Celebration Week. Pop-up booths were spread around campus to give students a chance to learn about different disabilities, such as Down syndrome and dyslexia. The Neurodiversity Celebration Week came to a close with the Story Spotlight Night, showcasing the personal stories of fellow Messiah students. Anyone was welcome to show up, grab some food, and listen to the stories of their peers in a safe environment.
We just really wanted to create awareness and about what neurodiversity is, because there's such various ideas in people's minds, and I think a lot of people just go straight to autism or ADHD, but there's a lot of things that fall into that umbrella, and just getting the chance to hear from people directly too tonight was really special.
Last Wednesday, Messiah students had the opportunity to color pages for Kid Patients. Students showed up at the Larson Student Union from 5 to 8 o'clock and were able to choose from a variety of pictures, stickers, and markers to customize coloring books for kids at Penn State Hershey Medical Center.
I'm here with the Messiah Council and Family Relations, and today we're making coloring books for children hospitalized at Penn State Medical Center. We're sending these coloring books here in place of cards so that the kids have something tangible that they can use their imagination with and enjoy it, and we hope that blesses their time while they're at the hospital.
Altogether, Messiah students were able to create over 40 coloring books to send out to the hospitalized children. The books will be sent to Penn State Hershey Medical Center along with toys from an on-campus toy drive in about 2 weeks.
Last Friday, more than 80 students participated in the Swap and Mend at the Fishbowl, where they were acquired with mended pieces of clothing for free. This event was part of the Office of Sustainability's Campus Race to Zero Waste project.
Our last event in Campus Race to Zero Waste, it's Swap and Mend. We did it earlier last semester. It's essentially a thrift shop, but for free. It's really encouraging people to get involved with sustainability, as well as becoming aware of fast fashion. And for this event, we're also paired with HRA/IJM.
Around half of the clothes were sourced from the Swap and Mend held last semester, while the rest were recently donated by students and faculty of Messiah. Several students took advantage of the free sewing services offered, and they had their clothes mended. According to Elisa Wu, this self-sustaining event was well received and showed an increase in popularity since it was last held.
Murray Library hosted mini golf in the stacks from 6 to 10 p.m. on Friday evening. Students could sign up in groups of 2 to 5 players. From there, groups would follow the red or the green path and putt-putt their way through 8 holes. Each hole was set up by different clubs and organizations on campus. Safety had a standout hole where students had to golf while wearing drunk goggles. At the end, students could vote on which hole was their favorite.
Pulse Radio hosted Name That Tune this past Friday in the Union. In a bracket-style game, participants competed head-to-head for a spot in the top 3. Emma Dingus finished in first place and won an iTunes gift card. Chris Hahn finished in second place and won an Ada Lee vinyl set. And Ned Kutch-Menda finished in third place and won his choice of vintage Pulse merch.
Coming up on Falcon Update, we'll take a look at this week's roller coaster of a forecast.
And grab your bowling shoes. You might need them in the vault this week.
Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching YBTV live on YouTube. Check out our channel after the show for more great content from Messiah University.
Should be fun. I love s'mores.
Me too, especially on a campfire.
The best.
Golden brown.
Welcome back to Falcon Update live on YBTV. Let's check out this week's campus calendar with Nolan Putnam.
Welcome back to this week's campus calendar. I'm Nolan Putnam. Let's check out this week's events. As always, don't forget about the Falcon Fitness classes and the various student ministry opportunities provided for you throughout the week. Tuesday morning's chapel will dive into theological expressions of movement and dance. Also on Tuesday from 4 to 5 p.m. is another Women of Color support group in the MCC room at the top of the Larson Student Union. Come on down to Palmer Hall at 7 p.m. as Res Life hosts Coffee and Calling. Students are invited to be an audience for a coffee conversation around various topics of vocation and calling as a part of Tuesday's chapel opportunities. On Wednesday, attend the Human Library from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Murray Library and hear Messiah students and employees share their personal stories. Also on Wednesday, attend Immigration Journey through Biblical Perspective from 6 to 9:30 in Hosstetter Chapel. SAB is hosting a poetry night in Boyer 131 from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Come out and read your own poetry or listen to others. Moving on to Thursday, Res Life is sponsoring an iFest. Students are encouraged to put their smartphones away in order to promote consideration and practice of self-reflection and faith. Development and connection with God and neighbor for Thursday's chapel opportunities, we will cover the global expressions of worship. Moving into Friday, Beyond the Ceiling will be hosting breakfast catered by Twin Bridges Catering and Martin Commons from 7 to 9 a.m. Join us in hearing from President Kim Phipps and talking about her story of becoming Messiah's first female president. There's a $15 cost to attend. Later, join Professor Sikor in discussing the role of cybersecurity in the Russo-Ukrainian conflict. This event will be held at 4:30 in Frey 150. SAB and Minds Matter joining together to put on an egg extravaganza on Saturday. This exciting event will take place outside the Union from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Many excellent prizes will be handed out to anyone who finds a golden egg and the person who finds the most eggs. Keep your expectations high because random raffle prizes will also be handed out. Thank you for joining us for this week's campus calendar. This is Nolan Putnam sending this exhibition back to the desk.
Thanks, Nolan. late March, but there was still bitter cold out there today, Caleb.
It's a big chance that the 70-degree temperatures we were just seeing a few weeks ago are going to change, and we may have some more mild temperatures later this week. Chris Blakeman has our full Falcon forecast.
Welcome to this week's Falcon forecast. I'm Chris Blakeman. It might be almost April, but don't think that it'll feel like spring quite yet. It's currently 28 in Grantham with cloudy skies and high winds, so expect the rest of the week to feel about the same. Tomorrow we'll have a high of 44 and a low of 26, paired with the only sunny skies of the week. Wednesday we'll go right back to clouds once more with a high of 54 and a low of 44. There will also be a 56% chance of rain, so make sure to dress accordingly. Thursday will be slightly warmer than the previous couple days with a high of 71 and a low of 44, but the warmer temperature is ruined by a 72% chance of thunderstorms later in the day. Going into the weekend, Friday will be partly cloudy with a high of 50, a low of 33, and a 24% chance of rain. Saturday and Sunday will be more of the same, with highs in the mid-50s and lows reaching just below 40 degrees, which will bring us into more cold temperatures next week. That's all for this week's Falcon Forecast. I'm Chris Blakeman, sending it back to the desk.
Thanks, Chris. April is just around the corner, and the end of the semester follows shortly behind it.
With finals only a few weeks away, we picked up a few study strategies with this week's Falcon on the Street. Let's go to Marie Miller for more.
There's 5 weeks left of school, and so for this week's Falcon on the Street, we're asking people how they prepare themselves for finals weeks, finals projects, and more.
For me, prepping for finals week usually includes lots of time praying and committing my studies to God and asking that He would help me just to do my best and have peace about the results.
I would say I prepare for the end of the year final projects, final exams by reviewing a few things, but otherwise trying to remain as stress-free as possible.
I prepare for finals week by making time for myself and going hammocking or spending time with friends to avoid stress.
You just gotta study hard and make every minute count.
I prepare for finals week by making prioritized to-do lists and then working my way down through those and then scheduling personal time in between.
That's all for this week's Falcon on the Street. I'm Marie Miller.
You gotta prep for finals?
Thanks, Marie. Did you grab those bowling shoes?
This week in the Vault, Kelly Gainey has a piece of Messiah history that might be right up your alley. Literally.
Welcome back to the Vault, unlocking Messiah's history 1 week at a time. I'm your host, Kelly Gainey. Make sure to strap on your Velcro shoes because this week we're going bowling. When the Eisenhower Campus Center was first built and dedicated in November 1972, there was a built-in bowling alley and student recreation room located in the back corner behind the Falcon where Slingshot Textbooks is today. There were at least 4 lanes based on photographic evidence, but no construction plans to confirm. Alongside student recreation, you could take a bowling wellness class. Homework would be to play 2 games a week, and students in the class would get 2 games for free. It served as a fun and easy date night option for a lot of Messiah students. The adjacent game room held a shuffleboard, 2 pool tables, and a bumper pool table. Today, the shuffleboard and one of the pool tables remains in the basement of Sollenberger residence. The bowling alley was sadly removed in April of 2000. The swinging bridge covered the departure of the alley and new installations of more seating for the Falcon, space for Postal Service, and an extra conference room for staff. That's all for this week. Make sure to tune in next week when we unlock another mystery here on The Vault.
Thank you, Kelly. That was striking.
And we've got even more sports coming up next. PJ Rydell will bring us a special look at the men's soccer trip that happened over spring break.
And he'll bring us the latest highlights and updates on the Falcons this season.
Keep it right here on YBTV.
You're watching YBTV live on YouTube. Check out our channel after the show for more great content from Messiah University.
It should be fun. I love s'mores.
Me too. Especially on a campfire,
The best.
golden brown.
You're watching YBTV. Welcome back to Falcon Update on YBTV.
It's time for PJ Rydell to bring us the latest on Messiah Athletics. PJ?
Thanks, guys. Let's take a look at the latest in Messiah sports. Over spring break, many of Messiah's teams took trips to play more distant opponents and cultivate team chemistry. Despite not being in season, Messiah's men's soccer team went on a trip too, as they intertwine their faith with their athletics. Let's take a look.
It definitely blew away my expectations in terms of teaching me what ministry can look like and things that God is doing in the world and around the world.
The men's soccer team flew to Colombia this spring break to work and play alongside the locals in what players have called the opportunity of a lifetime.
We work with a soccer ministry in that city, and so in many ways we kind of jump into what they're doing every day and kind of do it with them, learn from them, be an encouragement to what they're doing.
What we love about them is they've just been they use soccer as a ministry tool for the last 30 years. You know, they've been doing it before, sports ministry was even a thing in the United States.
Part of their ministry work included doing manual labor.
We got a ditch here. The water doesn't drain correctly, so we got a low spot over here and a high spot over there. We want to reverse it. We're going to put the high spot here, the low spot over there.
And another part of the ministry included working with children in the local area.
Okay. Vamos, Messiah! Vamos, Messiah! Adios.
And of course, the team suited up to play 4 games against some of Colombia's best players at their age group.
They organized 4 games for us against, really high-level opponents, and so it was great for our guys to be able to play those games.
It was a cool experience because a lot of them were super high-level players. Some of them play with the first-tier teams in Colombia.
Learning how other cultures play soccer wouldn't be complete without learning their celebrations too.
Unlike the warm weather that men's soccer got to play in while in Colombia, Messiah's spring sports teams had to play in some brutal weather this week, starting with men's lacrosse. On Wednesday night, the Falcons hosted the Griffins of Gwynedd Mercy University. However, the heavy rain didn't dampen the Falcons' play, as they defeated the Griffins by a final of 13-9. The Falcons fell behind early, but they would end up mounting a comeback, thankfully, according to Owen Joyce, as he received the pass down low, gets the short pass, and puts it in from Seth Libby for his 11th goal on the season to make it a 3-2 game. 2 minutes later, R.J. Meller spins around his defender and puts in the long shot to tie the game at 3. Now early in the second quarter, Nate Branson strikes off a short pass from Joyce to give the Falcons the 4-3 lead, and they wouldn't look back for the rest of the game. Now on defense, the Griffins get a breakaway opportunity, and they're denied, as Aiden Hickey makes the huge save in his second start of the season to preserve the lead. The Falcons would go on to win 13-9 thanks to hat tricks from Meller and Joyce and 8 saves from Hickey. They improved to 4-4 on the season and will face Albright on Wednesday. Also on Wednesday night, the men's volleyball team reigned victorious in a big conference rivalry matchup with Stevenson University. The Mustangs and Falcons faced off in a battle of the top 10 teams on Wednesday, and they didn't disappoint. The Falcons struck early in the rivalry matchup thanks to an opening point from Mason Nisley, and it would be Nisley again later in the game as he puts the Falcons in position to win. Now, upcoming, the serve from Matt Knabb. He serves it over the net. The bad play by the Mustangs, and Mason Nisley makes them play. Now it's the Falcons with the opportunity to put the game away, and they do, thanks to the kill there by Jacob Hom. As he gets the game-winning kill, now the Mustangs are on the ropes down 2-0 in the third set. The Falcons make the play off the serve, and Bowman puts away the game-winning kill, and the Falcons win the match 3-0. The Falcons came away with 2 more wins this weekend as well to improve to 17-3, and will get a rematch versus Stevenson tomorrow night in Hitchcock Arena. Also over the weekend, Messiah's women's lacrosse came away with a low-scoring win after a road trip to the University of Mary Washington. The Falcons came into the game 4-3 on the season, and they were the ones to strike first, as Rachel Dellett moves the ball in from the far side, and she finds the back of the net to make it 1-0. Falcons early on. 40 seconds later, Aaron Grotoff takes advantage of the free position opportunity to make it a 2-0 game. Later in the second, the Falcons add to their 4-3 lead as Rachel Dellett puts in her second goal of the afternoon with a tough shot. Later in the third, the Falcons hanging on to a 1-goal lead as Aaron Grotoff nets her second goal of the day to make it a 7-5 game. With 30 seconds left in the third, Emma Lytle races around her defender to put in the goal on the near side, giving the Falcons a 9-5 lead. Mary Washington would tack on 2 more goals in the fourth, but it wouldn't be enough as Messiah wins this one 9-7. Messiah softball traveled to Eastern University this weekend to kick off their conference play for the season. Facing the Eagles, the Falcons swept the Battle of the Birds, winning both games of the doubleheader. The offense was sparked by Hannah Dyer as she launches this 2-run home run deep to left field to make it an early 2-run lead for the Falcons. Thanks to a shutout performance by Maddie Walter, the Falcons wouldn't need much more offense, but don't tell that to Dyer, as now in the 7th inning, she laces into the gap a deep double to make it 4-0 in the ballgame, which would stand as the final score in Game 1. In Game 2, then, the Falcons took the small ball approach instead, as Sarah Lippin lays down the bunt and the Eagles throw it away at first base to give the Falcons a 3-0 lead. Now in the final inning, the Falcons are in a jam, up 5-3, but Lydia Collison works out of it for the ground out to Hannah Dyer. She makes the play at shortstop to give the Falcons the sweep of the doubleheader. The team improves to 12-6 and will face McDaniels on Wednesday. Messiah Baseball also played a doubleheader on Saturday as they hosted one of the top teams in the nation, the Rowan University Profs. Rowan showed why they were one of the best teams with a 14-7 win over Messiah in Game 1. However, Casey Karras launches this one over the right field fence for a long home run. In Game 2, however, the Profs and Falcons battled it out in a more tight game, but the Falcons struck first with an RBI single there to left from Dustin Eisenagel. The Rowans would tie it at 1 all the way in the 7th inning when Jarrett Gordon would go on to score on a wild pitch to give the Falcons the edge 2-1. Now with the game tied at 3 coming up here in the 8th inning, a perfect bunt laid down by Reed Wagner down the third base side makes all the difference as it gives the Falcons the 4-3 lead, and they would go on to win 4-3. A big win deserves a big celebration as the assistant coaches took a polar plunge into the breaches to celebrate the big win over a top 10 opponent. The weekend's action brings the Falcons to 10-10 on the season as they prepare to face Hood College tomorrow and on Friday. The outdoor track season began as well this weekend, and the Falcons performed well with several top 3 finishes. Highlighting the action for the women, Kate Dicko placed first in the 1500-meter event, and Esther Sealand, a familiar name, placed first in the 800-meter. For the men, Logan Horst finished in second in the 5,000-meter event. The Falcons look to build off a strong start to the outdoor season when they compete again at Widener next weekend. That brings you up to speed on sports here at Messiah. I'm PJ Rydell, sending it back to the desk with Nolan and Caleb.
Thank you, PJ. That's all we have for this week's Falcon Update.
But don't go away. A brand new episode of YB Tonight is headed your way after these messages.
Thanks for watching Yellow Breeches Television. Please stay with us.
I grew up creative, always drawing. Legos, played a ton of Legos from the time I could start putting them together. When I got into school, I thought I was going to be a painter, and then I thought I was going to be a graphic designer. But it wasn't until I took my first foundations of art class, 3D design, where I was carving a salt block, just a little carpenter chisel, and I stuck it underneath the water, and it kind of started deteriorating, and I loved it, and it felt comfortable, and it felt right, and that's when I realized that 3D is where I belong. Sculpture is what I needed to pursue. If you feel that passion in your belly, if you wake up and you got to make something, if you grab the paper clip and you manipulate it into some form, or you're doodling in your sketchbook, or everything you do you see through a more creative side, then listen to that spirit talking in you and follow it. And for that young artist, it's hard and it's difficult, but you got to just keep on doing it. You got to just keep on doing it. We were all there. We want to hang out with you. We want you to look over our shoulder and watch us cut this piece. Ask us that question. Don't be scared. Everybody has that starting point.
My name is Nathan Sims. I'm a junior at Messiah, and I'm a double major in both film and media arts and Spanish. I grew up making films as a kid. I saw that Messiah had a film program, and so when I visited, I just thought this is the perfect fit. Both the theory and practical considerations here have really increased my skill set, not just in a technical sense, but also from a theoretical perspective as well. I think the biggest piece that I'll add to my portfolio before I graduate is the final film for the junior and senior film project. That'll probably be my crowning achievement because I'm working with so many other artists and other film majors, and it's just been a really great opportunity so far. I think I'm most excited to use skills I've learned in documentary class. I have to make ethical decisions in every step of the process to really come up with a strong and truthful way to tell someone else's story. I think my professors have done a really great job of being strong examples for what combining your faith and your ethics with an art form like film, what that looks like. And so the interactions have almost always been positive because they're really invested in what their students are learning. One of my most valuable experiences was my internship, where I was able to actually apply what I learned in the classroom to the real world, and I think that's a completely invaluable experience. Personally, I did my internship with the Department of Natural Resources in Maryland. One of my favorite experiences at Messiah so far has actually been the Splice Film Festival, which allows students to submit their own personal work, and being able to share the art that I created as well as my fellow classmates was absolutely beautiful. I think the market right now is very open for film and media arts majors. There's a lot of different ways that you can plug in, both at nonprofits, at regular organizations. I worked in the government, and so I think there are absolutely a lot of opportunities.
Good evening, Messiah. Welcome back to YB Tonight. I'm Brendan McNeil. Here we have Grace, and she's going to perform a dance for us tonight. Take it away.
In something like our mothers we grew, till red was again the color of the water, and pain wasn't something any of us could point to, because it was what was, and morning came not knowing if it would come again, and love was the only thing assumed, and love should have been enough, someone without a heart might say. The day you died because you wanted to. I tied my wisdom tooth to a doorknob and pulled it loose. Take everything I think I know. Every answer is a grave. Now the questions are the rain I walk through to find my way to God. And my only God is faith that there is comfort here, that who is hurting might hurt less than they did before. What else are all these coins and all these wells for, if not to wish the grief asleep in the lap of someone else's grief till grief comes, not knowing if it will come again? Your sister thought the hearse was a limousine till she asked where it was going, and then she knew for sure. That's what a word like heaven will do. But heaven, that wasn't what you were aiming for. You didn't think the other side would be better. You thought the other side would be nothing at all. Imagine choosing nothing at all. Imagine something hurting that bad. I didn't still have the ring you'd given me. I'd crushed it with a rock to see how much you loved me. I love you to pieces too. It hurts me in my head now, how you knew the water wasn't deep enough to dive into, but I won't let anyone say it was a shallow thing you did. I knew it was your entire body finally pointing, saying, here is where the pain is. I can crush a can with the heel of my shoe. I can drive by your mother's house if I want to, but I don't want to. She was there when you bought the ring. She knew how long you'd been saving me. I didn't save anything. But you don't lose a person like a set of keys, because you don't find them again, and you can still get to where you're going. Resilience itself is an awful thing to grieve. Who with a heart can stomach how much we can stomach? All your blood in the water, and I could still wade through, and I will again. And I will again, and I will again with everyone I lose.
Thank you, Grace. That was wonderful. Everyone, please stay tuned. We're about to sit down with Grace and discuss how this dance came to be. We'll be right back.
You're watching YBTV live on YouTube. Check out our channel after the show for more great content from Messiah University.
It should be fun. I love s'mores.
Me too. Especially on a campfire.
The best.
Golden brown.
Welcome back to YB Tonight. I'm back with Grace Wellman after her stunning performance. How are you doing tonight, Grace?
Really good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for coming on. My first question for you, what inspired you to choreograph such an emotional dance piece?
Yeah, of course. So this dance is very personal to me. This dance is basically about someone who is grieving the loss of someone that they lost due to suicide. So when I was younger, I lost someone due to this cause. So when you're young, when you lose someone, you know, you're confused. You don't really know why. You're still learning about death and everything, and suicide in general is like even more like confusing. So it's basically just about me as like my younger self trying to reconcile all of that.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think the choreography of this dance and this kind of dancing, it kind of influences the stigma surrounding the conversation around mental health?
Yes, of course. So I think mental health should definitely be talked about in many different ways, and I think dance is a really good outlet because you don't really have to talk. You can just dance, and it's up to the audience to decide like how they're going to interpret the piece and interpret how they're going to feel. So I think dance is a really good outlet to talk about these kind of tough subjects.
Mm-hmm. And I think everyone watching at home was touched by this piece. It's amazing. I was wondering if you plan on taking this to the stage anywhere else and not just in small settings like here at Messiah.
Yeah, so I'm performing this dance in Culmination, which is GIVM's or the Messiah Dances Department's end of the year performance. So that's happening April 22nd at 8 p.m. and then April 23rd at 2 p.m. So come out for that.
Absolutely. How did your personal experience with these topics influence the final dance and the final product?
Of course. So when I was choreographing this, I made sure it was as authentic to me as possible. So I didn't want to force any kind of emotions, force any kind of experiences that were my own. So I think I started by improvising like how I was feeling, and I think that in turn turned into my dance. So I think if I didn't have this experience or try to fabricate this experience, then the dance wouldn't be what I wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm. If you don't mind, could you personally define what grief and loss means to you?
Oh man, I think grief and loss is something that's indescribable, but I think it's just confusion. I think losing someone, like not having that person in your life anymore, is so confusing, and you're lost yourself, like you lose a part of yourself. So I think just confusion and loss, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And how would you say that dancing and choreographing this piece has changed your perception of these topics?
I definitely think that I feel more comfortable discussing these kind of topics through dance because, I mean, I don't really like talking about these things like verbally, so I think dance gives me a safe outlet, something that I'm most comfortable in discussing it.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you believe someone who has experienced these firsthand and these sort of topics would view the dance differently than someone like me who hasn't personally experienced them?
Oh, absolutely. I think anyone who has gone through this type of loss, no matter how close you are with the person, I think everyone's experiencing this kind of loss is so different, and it's hard to say, well, I went through what you went through because, you know, everyone's experience is different. So I definitely think someone who has experienced this loss feels more of an impact, I believe, than someone who hasn't. But you can still kind of get the gist and understanding from the dance.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no really right way to approach a topic like this, and it can be up for interpretation, but when you were choreographing this piece, what were some of the things that you wanted to avoid touching on?
That's a really good question because this is such a serious dance, and I really tried to not offend anyone through the experience. Even though I have personally gone through it myself, I still want to respect the person who the dance is about and everyone who's been through it. So in order to avoid that, I wanted to make sure that, like I said, this experience this dance was authentic to me, and it tells my story. If it tells my story, then I wouldn't say not offend anyone, but it's true to me, so I think it could be true for other people.
Yeah, and speaking of other people, how would you like to change the way other people view topics like this, and what would you want the conversation to be?
Of course. So when I attended this one person's funeral, I was confused because I was like 10. Like, I didn't really know what was going on. But I think when people talk about these kind of topics, they kind of paint the person in a negative light sometimes, or like, well, this person was selfish for doing this. Like, they weren't thinking of their family, they were thinking about their friends. But they were, and they're not selfish people. So I think when we're talking about these topics, that we should change how we speak on these people. These people weren't selfish. They were fighting, like the dance was talking about. This person was fighting. They were giving their all, but they just couldn't feel enough support. So I think instead of saying, oh, this person's selfish, we should reach out to these kinds of people. So,
yeah. And a number like this is obviously very emotional and personal. Do you feel like you had any trouble or hesitations with making something like this and making it public? Did you have any problem coming out?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I went back and forth between if I want to do this dance or a very upbeat jazz dance, but I thought this person who I made the dance about has such a huge impact on who I am as a person. And if it wasn't for this person, I don't know if I would even be here today. I don't know if I'd be in the school because she helped me so much. So yeah, I was scared that like people would say, oh, it's too serious, it's too sensitive, or like it's too offensive, but I've gotten a lot of good feedback from it, and that makes me want to perform it and tell my story more.
Well, I think we can speak for everyone here that we enjoyed it. Last question for you tonight. What do you want people watching at home and everywhere to gain from watching your dance?
In general, for people who are maybe having these kind of thoughts like hopelessness, I wanted them to know that they're not alone. Whether you're experiencing it or you've saw someone else experience that you're not alone, and there's a lot of people that you can reach out to, and that there's always hope, and there's a lot of people that love you, so keep going.
All right, that's amazing. Well, Grace, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us. We'll be right back with Mackenzie Jansen, where she'll tell us more about her mental health awareness blog. Don't go away.
My name is Natalie Moy. I'm a senior and I'm a digital media major. I feel like the classes here have helped me to train my eye to detect good design. I like how the professors don't force you into one way of thinking. Instead, they allow you to be creative and think of projects in your own way, and they will guide you and help you envision your project to make it even better and stronger. I have this one professor who starts off his classes with prayers, and I feel like that's really great because it starts us off reminding us that we are creating something for God, so we have that in our minds to create something that He will be pleased with. In my portfolio, I have quite a large variety of works. I have design-based works, I have photography, I have videography. One of the big projects I will be expecting in my portfolio would be from the junior-senior film class that I'm taking this semester. I'll be the production designer for this short film, and I'm looking forward to work with my crew because they're all awesome people. Messiah has this media hub called The Pulse, so I've been working for them for the past few months, and you can do stuff like designing, photography, videography, the radio station, and you can even design websites, write articles. I think it's a really great opportunity for me to get my work out there. I'm a designer, so people on campus or even off campus get to see what I do, and I think that's really great. So if you're a digital media student, you could go into computer science fields, or you could go into the film industries or graphic design. I guess it's the beauty of digital media, it's just so versatile.
Oh, hi. I suppose you're wondering what an A-list celebrity like me is doing in a place like this. You must know, I'm saving the world. Oh, hi, Beth. Yep, saving the world again. Did you know that 40% of all the food produced in the United States is thrown away? That means everything that went into that food, the pesticides, the water, the land, was all for nothing. Just look at this perfectly good food thrown in the trash. The pizza with extra Cheerios. These goldfish and Band-Aid tacos. And just look at this perfect trash burger. This pasta dog looks delicious.
You don't have to dumpster dive like Ed Begley Jr. to save the planet. Fight food waste by shopping smart and using what you buy before it gets trashed.
That's way better. Ooh, arugula.
Do your part and find out other world-saving tips at betterthaned.org.
Welcome back, Messiah. I'm Rosie Schiano here with Kenzie Jansen, the creator of the blog Imperfection. How are you doing tonight, Mackenzie?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just start things off real quick. To start us off, can you tell us what inspired you to start this blog?
Yeah, for sure. So I'd been wanting to write a blog for a while, but I would say the thing that was really like the key motivator was actually my professor requiring it as an assignment. So in one of my classes, he was like, hey, you're gonna have to do a blog. I was like, all right, cool, personal growth it is, and honestly just kind of took charge from there.
Nice. And it's been going well for you?
Yeah, it's been going great.
Perfect. Okay. So one of the things you talk about a lot are imperfections and embracing them. So how have you been able to do that, and how would you advise other people to do that as well?
Yeah, so one thing that I've personally struggled with a lot in my life is just kind of self-image and like, oh, am I really like what I want to be, or like, do I need to work on some stuff? And I would say just kind of embracing who I am, or in a sense failure, like if I fail, just embracing that failure to grow. So if I, in a sense, fail an assignment or fail a test, like say I get a C on a test or something that I really didn't want, just being like, okay, that sucked, but what can I do from here? And just not in a sense being down about it, but just using that as extra motivation.
I love that. That's a perfect answer.
Yeah.
So good. So how has your experience with these topics changed the way you approach some of these more difficult things in life?
Yeah, so it definitely has helped me a lot just in like different things, whether it would be like a test that I failed or like some sort of family scenario that I've been going through. It just helps me a lot to know that it isn't in a sense bad to fail, that it's okay to brush yourself off, pick yourself up, and keep going. And I don't know if you've ever heard of David Goggins, but he's actually a motivational speaker who failed a lot in his life and came from a place of failure, but is now one of the most like successful people, and he's in the army and all this stuff. But just like finding that failure and using it to become more successful.
Great.
Yeah.
So it seems like your blog is going so great for you.
Yeah.
So in your head, what do you picture the ultimate goal of having this blog?
Yeah, so I have a lot of goals, but one of my ultimate goals is to be a motivational speaker and to have like a good like up and running like daily blog, well maybe not daily, but weekly blog, because daily is kind of a lot, but weekly blog with just my own motivational speaking and a book, just something that I can have that's tangible so that I can change people's lives and help people in the best way possible.
So what do you want them to take away from your blog?
Yeah, I just want them to take away, honestly, each blog post is different, but I want them to take away that it's okay to be yourself, it's okay to fail, it's okay to be imperfect, but in a sense, like that failure and that imperfection is going to lead you to greater things. It's going to lead you to more growth, and that you are going to be more successful if you can be at terms and love who you are and the failures that you do.
Perfectly said. That's good. So how do you find yourself comfortable sharing these tough topics that people have a hard time explaining and showing?
Yeah, so obviously no one's life is perfect. I've had difficult moments in my life, as some people know, not everyone, but I've had a lot of difficult times in my life, and just realizing that it's okay to be vulnerable, and if I'm never vulnerable, then not only am I, in a sense, lacking in my growth, but I'm making it harder for others to grow and for others to learn. So by being vulnerable, I can help myself and others in the best way possible.
I love that. That's great. So what is something you would say to someone that wants to start a blog or is thinking about starting a blog? How would you go about helping them with that?
Yeah, honestly, the Nike quote, I actually wrote a blog about this recently, like yesterday or the day before, but like, just do it. If you have something that you want to do, whether it's a blog, whether it's a video, no matter what, just go for it, because you never know if you're going to succeed if you're never willing to fail, if you're never willing to learn, and you don't just go for it.
Great. So what advice would you give to someone who's struggling with their mental health and loving themselves?
Yeah, I would just say it's hard and it's okay to be in a place of struggle. I would say go to God, go to your friends, find people who make you feel comfortable with yourself, and honestly, just find ways to love yourself. Like one thing that I've done is with my moles. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, moles, not a good thing. Like they make you imperfect, they make you unpretty or ugly in a sense. Like find something that makes them beautiful to you. So I call them angel kisses. Like an angel will kiss you in the night and all of a sudden you have a mole and it makes it beautiful. It has this like good connotation to it instead of something that you feel like bad about.
Angel kisses. I'm going to remember that. So before we wrap things up here, where can we find your blog?
Yeah, for sure. So I have a link on my Instagram. So if you go to Mackenzie.Jansen, it's MAKENZIE.JANSON. If you go there, you can find the link to my blog. Otherwise, it's also on my Facebook, my Twitter. I mean, I posted on Snapchat fairly recently, but most of it is just like Mackenzie.Jansen. If you search that on any social media platform, more than likely you'll find me.
Perfect. Well, I had such a pleasure talking with you tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
For sure.
We'll be right back after the break.
You're watching YBTV.
Once again, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of YB Tonight, and a special thank you to Grace Wellman and Mackenzie Jansen for being here as well. For YB Tonight, I'm Brendan McNeil.
And I'm Rosie Schiano. For myself and all of us here at YBTV, have a wonderful night, Messiah, and we'll see you next week.